Hello, welcome back to Dad Puzzles. This is 2025. We have a couple of guests already, and today we do have a special guest, Eva. Eva, she's not an awesome person to know, and I was like, no, we have to definitely chat so that people can really benefit from you, just knowing you and such, and also how can I want dads to learn more about how can they raise somebody like Eva, because that's like I find her very active on LinkedIn. She's very busy with what she's doing, and want us to learn about what she's doing so that we can see how we can learn from her. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Now, for people that do not know you, or maybe like you can introduce yourself, and we can get to know you.
Yeah, sure. And there's a lot of different aspects to who I am, and I can categorize them as such, like Eva the professional, Eva the personal, but naturally they all coincide. But I guess I'll start with the professional because that's actually the least important here, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
today. And that is just that I've worked in pretty much every area that one can in healthcare, and I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has led me to be an advocate for doctor-patient relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I care deeply about. And
Right.
I'm also an executive coach for leaders in healthcare, and I really think of them as visionaries in healthcare. And there is a relationship between those two interests, and that is human connection, which I think is a really great segue into who
Right.
I am as a person or my personal life.
Right.
Like connection means everything to me. And to connect as humans, we first have to recognize that we are humans.
Right.
And so my husband and I are a great example of how that shows up in healthcare because I am a chronic patient. I've
Mm-hmm.
been in and out of care situations and navigating the system since I was a child. Wasn't diagnosed properly with anything until I was 30. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's my husband, who is a physician.
Mm-hmm.
He also an MD.
Mm-hmm.
He is a pediatric gastroenterologist, or as I like to say, kid poop doctor, because that just
Right.
is way more.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Amazing.
And so together we really bonded over this idea that doctor patient relationships are terribly strained and disconnected, and they are imperative,
Mm-hmm.
and that really they shouldn't be seen. I don't like to say shouldn't, but a proactive way of seeing them is just like any other relationship.
Right.
And like, we're doctor and patient in a way, but we're also a man and a woman, two
Right.
humans, or many other things, mom and
Right.
dad. And this is interesting for me because it's the first time I'm on a podcast talking about parenting and marriage.
Okay.
Usually I'm always on podcasts talking about doctor patient relationships and
Right.
advocacy in that way. So
Right.
I love seeing the other side of this. So I am a wife, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a mother. My
Amazing.
husband and I have a 2-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And just to go back to the pediatric gastroenterology part, noting the pediatric part.
Right.
So, yeah, we only have one child. This is his first child, my first child. However, children is not something that my husband is uncomfortable with, right?
Mm-hmm.
He literally takes care of them for a living. And I did as well. I was a
Mm-hmm.
nanny, like a pretty serious nanny on and off for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that we have a 2-year-old is some people see, the terrible twos, but
Mm-hmm.
we're loving it. She is absolutely brilliant, which makes
Right.
some of it very difficult. I won't lie. Having a
Right.
smart kid this young when they don't really know what to do with themselves is
Right.
tough.
Right.
I love the developmental stage of 2 years old. And so
Mm-hmm.
we get to, it's like putting our parenting skills under a microscope and really
Right.
getting to see all the nuances and the challenges.
Right.
It's an adventure. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot else about me, but I guess we'll leave it there for now.
Right, right. No. Thank you for the introduction, and we are very happy to have you because I've been enjoying speaking to parents, moms, sisters, daughters, So I think it's always a beautiful thing. So, and today actually is a good thing because you can start maybe as a daughter. What has been your experience with your parents, and what did you learn from it? Is there something that you see that, oh man, this was so amazing. I need to probably take it and reproduce this with my kids.
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky to have the father that I do
Hmm.
and who I still have to this day and I have a very good relationship with to this day. Doesn't mean it's always been great or always is great, but
Of course, every family. Yes.
overarchingly great
Right.
relationship. I'm very thankful. And I'll first start with who he is in the parenting sphere
Hmm.
because it's not just him, it's my mom, but I so greatly appreciated this about them. And now I'm very familiar with it as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the two of them being a united front.
Right.
So, meaning like, even if my parents are very different people from each other,
Mm-hmm.
very different. I still don't know how they're married sometimes.
Right. Right.
Into how they showed up as parents for
Right.
myself and my sister, they were always on the same page. I never felt like I could go to one parent versus another for something. They
Right.
always had to check in with the other about any kind of agreements,
Mm-hmm.
made sure they always held the same values, the same
Mm-hmm.
rules or boundaries. And that was so helpful as a child.
Right.
And they did give me that little bit of parenting advice at some point. And now
Mm-hmm.
with a 2-year-old who, I don't remember what the phrase is, but like you budge an inch, they budge a mile or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She can push very easily. Any that boundaries are good, important, I think, with every child, but they're really
Right.
important with her. You can't stray from the boundaries. And
Right.
so being a united front, my husband and
Mm-hmm.
I, is so imperative to our parenting working
Right.
in guiding the best version of her.
That's good.
So that's a general thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of the best lessons I learned from my dad, if that's what we're getting at
Sure.
here,
Please. Yes. Yes.
are that the world is your oyster, or that you do have the ability to have, he wouldn't say like anything you want, but basically you have access to what you want in this world, but
Right.
it takes a lot of work, or it could take a lot of work. You're not just
Mm-hmm.
going to be handed things.
Right.
And I say this coming from, like, relatively speaking, a very privileged upbringing, right? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, and
Right.
quite frankly, a white family, and that adds to
Right.
privilege. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, he wanted to make it clear that, sure, I was born into certain levels of privilege, but that really to have what I truly
Want real results that last? Stop wasting time on quick fixes. A no-fat approach to sustainable fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being is your roadmap to lasting transformation. Learn how to fuel your body, move with joy, and cultivate mental strength, all without the restrictive rules. Start your journey to sustainable success. Download your guide today.
really wanted in life, and I understood what that meant more later.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to work for it
Right.
and persevere. Both my parents were very big on working hard.
Right.
I personally think I took what they said in the way that made sense to me. I actually think they worked too hard and didn't spend enough time playing and actually enjoying things. Thank God they are retired now and actually enjoying it. I was so worried that wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's one piece of advice I didn't fully take. But
Mm-hmm.
the working hard for what you want was one of the best lessons that was ever bestowed upon me, because it made me feel like I could make anything possible.
Right.
If I had determination, if I was bold enough, made the request, made the effort, that I could essentially have what I wanted. And that has been mostly true. It's not always what you think it's going to look like, what you
Right.
want.
Right. But
Even when
it's
I get what I wanted, let's say, air quotes here, what I wanted, I know I worked hard, and therefore I felt at peace with it, or could find
right.
some other way of getting that experience differently. And at the same time, this is one of my favorite lessons that my dad taught me. More like it's a favorite because it's kind of funny how he did
Mm-hmm.
it.
Right.
So I don't know what other people call these, but you know how kids, like toddlers, can have these big cars that are like life-size cars that they can
Mm-hmm.
drive in?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I called it the Barbie car because I always wanted the Barbie one, right? Like
Right.
the
Right.
pink one. I asked this for years and years on end. And at first, I don't know if they said this or or I inferred it, but I thought maybe they thought it was dangerous or it was too
Mm-hmm.
expensive, yada yada. I remember finding out information somehow as a child to show how it wasn't dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
saving up my allowance so I could have it, my very tiny girl allowance,
Hey.
and they never let me buy it or
Mm-hmm.
bought it for me. Fast forward 2 decades,
Okay.
I've never forgotten about that. Like, why didn't you get me this toy or thing that I wanted so badly for so long?
Right.
And I'm in my late 20s, and he says to me, I just wanted you to know that no matter how hard you try, that there are just some things in life you're never going to get.
Hey.
It's
The
like,
hard way, but it's true. It is true. Yes. That's old school wisdom right there. Yes.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that worked.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
I just was not expecting that when I asked my father that question. I assume
Mm-hmm.
he said, like, I didn't want you to have a car as a toddler, which
Right.
honestly isn't that crazy of a thought. It's
Right.
it's legitimate for a parent to not want their kid to drive into something.
Mm.
But he actually, I found it so wise where he just wanted,
Hmm.
I want this to be a representation of something you so desperately wanted in life and you just weren't going to get, and you would know how to deal with that.
That's amazing. I think that's a great wisdom. Thank you for sharing that. Because now, like sometimes, we have, like teenagers and any age. Also, like you mentioned, like like you're in in your 20s, you're learning that lesson. Is important because sometimes, especially if he's a spoiled kid, like or kids that we are used to giving them everything. It's good for
Mhm.
them to learn. By the way, this is like sometimes I don't have to get it, no matter how hard I work, or no matter my expectations. So like sometimes we don't have, or like whatever I'm requesting. So this is good.
Yeah.
I do have a 3-year old, so I know where you're coming from, and she for her actually being the last one, she's very pushy. Like whenever she wants something, she will raise the voice. She'll do big, like those tantrums. We have to give in, all the time. But lately we are trying to be more, more firm, and she, she does, she's understanding, especially where when you're in the eye level and you're trying to explain, no matter how crazy, how loud and and powerful her acting is. You have to kind of be there in the middle of it. Like, by the way, no, 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 no. Do you know da 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 da? At the end, she understands. Oh yeah, okay, sure. Then I'm like, oh great. I think we're winning now. But it's been a challenge,
Yeah.
especially when they are, when they, when they're hungry. You cannot discuss anything.
Yeah, a lot of our boundary issues are around food actually because she was born ravenous and
Hmm.
she has been it has never wavered. I don't know
Hmm.
what's up with that. I don't know, maybe it's because my husband and I also love food,
Hmm.
but I was always very intentional about separating emotions and food, and
Hmm.
somehow she's still an emotional eater. I don't know how that happened. I really did
Hmm.
my absolute best. Sometimes I think it's because other people gave her food when she was upset and not me, like
Yeah.
nannies and stuff. But anyway, yeah, she's the kind of kid where thankfully I am very good at keeping boundaries
That's
because I
good.
know her. If you give in, I mean, I feel like there's always pick your battles, but with certain
Right.
things that I feel strongly about, like because there's some eating stuff, if I say, we're not eating right now or it's not mealtime, I mean it. I
Right.
don't like give in to her because if
Right.
I give in to her once, she'll continuously ask the rest of that week at like some
Right.
random time. She knows you give in once and she's all over you forever. So I was like, I really cannot with this
Right.
child at all.
No, for it's very interesting how this dynamic works. And as they grow, they know you and you know them. So at some point, and actually, thankfully, they know when you're at your age, so they stop. But otherwise, it's very interesting dynamic. And nowadays, I think is the main difference I'm noticing is about how we're very close to them and we become too playful, almost we're like grandpas or uncles, but we're not. We're parents, so back in the days it wasn't like that for us. So I think that's one of the changes I'm noticing.
Mm.
So what else do you notice? Not, thank you for sharing that wisdom. I think that was great wisdom that we need to really educate our kids. I'm still experiencing, like I'm experiencing this at the moment. I was chatting with my like my daughter yesterday. There were some things that were not working out, and it's tough for them to understand, and no matter how, like for us it's like something simple, but for them it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you for sharing. I think once we educate him, that we find a good example to do that, I think it will be good. I'll find out, one of these requests. I will definitely make one of that. By the way, I'll try not to share why, but we'll see how it goes.
I'll be honest, it's hard for me to know whether it would have been more valuable for him to share the lesson with me when I was younger. I honestly don't
Hmm.
know because I wasn't.
Hmm.
But it could have been. I didn't love the idea. I personally, this is just my opinion, but I don't love the because I said so mentality.
Oh, I see. I
I
see.
very much get my dad, this is something my dad and my mom instilled in me also, like to respect my parents
Right.
as like guides and leaders of the household. I would say my parents are my friends, but they are also my parents. Like I
Right.
have friendly relationships with my parents, but they are still my parents. And I
Right.
think that line is very important.
Hmm.
And they taught me to respect them as people that are like older and therefore I guess wiser, but
Hmm.
also just as people. Like I think from them I learned that just respecting others is absolutely key.
Right.
there was no really speaking up against them, cursing at them. The one time I've ever cursed at my mother, it was I was being funny.
Right, right.
Oh, I won't talk about that, but like, it's I don't walk away from them. There were things where it's like disrespect me as a human and
Right,
also as someone who not only is like an elder, but like someone who really has your best interest at heart. You don't need to agree with me, but respect me as someone who is raising you.
right.
And like so similar to teachers or instructors or directors, and when I had like that growing up, I felt similarly about. I do actually want to go back for a second to the lesson I was talking about when like you have to work hard and you can get what you
Mm-hmm.
want. Like
Right.
specifically a scenario with my dad that meant the world to me where he did that. And another lesson that kind of tagged along with it that I
Mm-hmm.
really recommend for parents. When I was 15,
Mm-hmm.
I was in my second year of high school and I was already done with high school. I was like, I want out of this place. It's a drama bucket. I really don't want to be here, but I
Right.
have to be here. I don't want to drop out of school, but I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't interested in it. And I don't remember where I came up with the idea, but I asked my parents if I graduated early, could I move to Paris? Now, I was like a little kid who was always obsessed with Paris. I went when I was 9. I was very lucky to go,
Right.
and I never stopped thinking about it. And I was learning French for
Right.
years.
There you go.
And I thought this was going to be the most ridiculous request from my parents. Like, I thought they were just going to say no. They'd be like, you're crazy. And they said, if you are able to graduate early from high school,
I will
you
send
take
you.
all the AP classes, like all the upper, like the high level classes, because I was in them really already,
Mm-hmm.
and you do well. I don't know if they said like A's or like, and if you basically meet all these requirements,
Right.
absolutely you can go.
Amazing.
It was one of the easiest conversations I've ever had with my parents. And and I did it. And
Yeah.
I worked really hard. I had to take some double classes for like a
Mm-hmm.
year, and I did. I didn't go to my senior year of college, high school, and I graduated
Mm-hmm.
early, and I was able to live in France in between college and high school. And the reason why this is particularly notable
Mm-hmm.
is I felt comfortable enough, even though I was unsure of the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
to ask for something pretty massive.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, not just massive in terms of like something that they would support me with,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of trust.
Right.
Like I'm asking them to send their teenage daughter to
To
another
another
country
country.
on
Right.
their
Right.
own, on my
Right.
own.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think I realized it at the time, it was subconscious, but what a demonstration of respect to me and to themselves as parents. It must have been to them like, well, we must have done a good enough job because I trust her going to France on her own.
Right. Right. Right.
They understood that my brain was not fully developed. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
25. I was going to make lots of mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
but they trusted me to make those mistakes on my own,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that I could be raped or killed or God knows what. Like it's all possible, but that
Mm-hmm.
there was a good enough chance that it would be a life-changing experience
Right.
that would be foundational for me and my whole life. And it was, and it absolutely was.
Amazing.
Uh,
Amazing.
yeah, so it's the lesson I guess is like really think about how you can instill trust in your kids because it
Right.
builds up their ego in like the most substantial way.
Right.
Let them make their own mistakes, but also don't make it easy. Just be like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go like go mess up your life, whatever.
I like, I love how they put the conditions, and and then you made that, and then so it's like a qualifier there. So that's beautiful. That's important to do because
Yeah.
like, and like you can even start at a younger age. Or, one of my prior guests, we were talking about how sometimes we start giving them, like we go to the store, we make them pay or something, or we send them to a store, but we are right outside or something like that. Like something that is a big deal for them because they're little ones. So you can start early, and whenever at at a later age, like your case. My case for me was I was 21 and my parents allowed me to travel to America from Tanzania, and they kind of saw my interest and how hard I was working, even though I was leaving a program there, a medical school that was hard to get in, and I finally got in. And I say, no, I want to go to a college in America because, of course, that was acceptable because America is more opportunities compared to where we were financially. So he trusted me, and that's my dad and my mom, of course. And then so that was a big deal for me, And also I'll be sharing this story pretty soon. You'll be seeing that coming up. How he was talking about risk takers. They're very oftentimes they become very successful. So that's your case, like you're taking the risk to like go to another country because of you're in, like whatever you want to pursue, and you went for it.
Yeah.
So I really support that. I think this is amazing. Dads will, like in parents in general, should definitely learn from this, and try to apply, you know, little by little, like you mentioned, and not to be free too much, but also to kind of put those boundaries and make it as a challenge. By the way, I challenge you to do this. If you do this, I'll give you that. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
loved that it was on all sides. It's not like, work hard, I'll give you a treat. It's like work
Mhm.
hard and you're gonna have an experience that
Right.
is like basically I trust you to have that treat in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I can give countless examples of that, but I was like a professionally trained ballerina and my parents supported me in working hard for that and allowed me to go to like a really great dance camp that
Very
was
good.
expensive and only because I proved how big a deal this was to me and how hard I was going to work. They
Right.
were like, if you push yourself and demonstrate real commitment and love to something, we'll show you
Right.
how that can pay off. It won't always pay off. It's not guaranteed,
Right.
but
Right.
it makes sense. And it,
Tired of fads and frustration? Build sustainable wellness for life. Forget quick fixes that fail to deliver lasting results. Imagine feeling energized, moving confidently, and radiating health for years. Achieving true wellness isn't about exhaustion or deprivation. It's about building habits that fit seamlessly into your life. Invest in yourself today for lasting fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being. Ready to transform your life? Click here to learn more. By purchasing the book, you'll gain lifetime access to updates, newsletters, future editions, and exclusive wellness bonuses from the author. Start your journey to wellness now.
just thought it was a really good demonstration for how life is. Before I forget, this is actually the most important lesson, and I'm seeing it now even in my 2-year-old, is
Hmm.
providing kids, and you actually said it in the the purchasing example, is
Hmm.
giving kids a sense of agency and autonomy, even when they're still needing to absolutely be parented and like have
Hmm.
boundaries and have safety. But within that, I think you can create environments of autonomy and agency at the same time. I mean,
Right.
I just potty trained my daughter the last
Hmm.
honestly, it happened in days. I'm so freaking proud of her.
There you go.
But the very long story short of how we potty trained her was giving her a sense of pride. She
Right.
is that kind of kid who is like, "Yay, I did it." And it's
Right.
because we instilled that in her.
Right.
Anytime she accomplished any little thing from like birth, we're
Right.
like, "You did it." And
That's
she goes,
it.
"I did it."
Amazing. Amazing. Yes. Yes. It helps. It counts, my friend. That's the truth. And like even the little things. Like sometimes they act they like to act. Like I'm helping daddy. I'm helping mommy. Like taking a plate
Yeah.
to the table. They're like, oh, yeah, this is a big deal. Baba, this is your cup. No, no, this is mine. And, they're organizing everything. I'm like, that's amazing. Yes, those little things at that age. And before you know it, I think that confidence goes far. Like I noticed some of the kids, some of the grown-ups, sometimes they don't do big things because they've been crushed growing up. Like every time, no, no, cannot do this. That kind of thing. I think is it can be a detriment at some point. We still need to do that, of course, with the bad things. But whenever they're exploring good things, support them. That way, you never know that could be like the main goal down, the main career down the road. So this is amazing. I know we can talk on and on and on about that. I think those are great lessons from dad, and I'm sure people are curious if with your husband, let's say, in him working with kids, and so how. What is the most thing, what's the most interesting thing that you're observing with him so that you think, oh, you know what, other dads should definitely pick up in this, should be learning from that.
Well, I'll be honest, the first thing that I have lots to say about him regarding him as a dad.
Hmm.
But I realize what's actually at the core of it isn't who he is as dad, it's who he is as partner parent with
Yeah.
me, which really means as husband, I guess you could say too, but it's part of the parenting journey.
Hmm.
And all that to say, he is my equal partner. And for some strange reason, that's like a really big deal that a male figure would be an equal partner to a female figure. Unless I guess the chosen dynamic is that the mom does more. Sometimes that's chosen and they want that. Especially because of my chronic illnesses, which impact me physically, and a lot of stress can also impact me physically. I mean, stress impacts everyone physically,
Right.
but it impacts me a lot more and a lot faster. He really is my teammate. I
Right.
think he does as much as I do in terms of support with our daughter and like physically preparing things, thinking things through. You know, I do some things better than he does, and vice versa.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but I don't feel like I'm the one raising like my daughter and that he's helping.
Right.
I feel like he is my equal partner.
Amazing.
So I don't know what the lesson is there. I think the lesson or the message, it's really more of a message, is I don't
Team player.
understand why husbands are not equal partners.
No, no, I think it's amazing to be to being a team player. You know, like you help each other to get things done. I think that's is always like is a team like you mentioned. Is a big deal because sometimes, and as you have said, like it was more obvious back in the days compared to nowadays. Like nowadays, parents are not as a team, like as a team. Let's say it can be like dad says this and then mom turn around and say that one. So kids are confused, But back in the days, they were more, like uniform. They were. I guess I'm talking great things about old school because of our parents, and our grandparents. We love them, we honor them, and we see only great things, But of course, there were some errors in that. But it's just that nowadays we're more closer to each other. I guess depending on your job and how you are with your kids, some parents they're still busy most of the time. They're not as close, and maybe when the dad says something, and yeah, dad says, But some of us, for instance, because we have tried to be more there, more available as much. When you say something, it's like it's their friend talking. They don't pay attention as much. And so we need to work on that. So, but I think it's a beautiful thing because then when they will grow up, they will have more memories, more things about me and my wife compared to what I remember about my dad because my dad was working and like whenever he comes home, it's only a small window that we have together. To like chat and sometimes it's not even all that because we have guests. Back in Africa, we do, like growing up, we do have guests like every time, because he was a good guy, like good man. So, his knowledge, his wisdom, people kind of always there's somebody always tea, like we're drinking tea. So we chat, but the only moments that we get private with him mostly was like whenever we're praying and stuff like that. But other than that, he's the community guy, he's, yeah,
Yeah.
like rest in peace. He's gone. That's I miss him, and that's actually the reason why I went ahead with this dad puzzle because I wanted to. Me and my wife we were looking online actually when we were pregnant, during like during the pandemic, and everything online is about you guys, nothing on us as dads. So I'm like, okay, so this is the moment where we should definitely have something for dad. So that's how dad puzzles came about. But also like the influence of my dad is always there, and the influence of my kids. Just learning from them and sharing with them this journey. I think is also fueling what's going on with the dad puzzle. So thank you so much for really sharing that wisdom and your experience. And I know there's so much more to talk. We have to come back and talk again about careers because sometimes initially I was blogging about parenthood and then we started this podcast, but also really the financial part is very important, because a lot of times when we speak, we tell people, yeah, like, spend time with them, play games or whatever we do. But some people, they do work hard every day. Like they leave early in the morning, they come late at night. How can you be talking stuff like that to him and, to like people like that? And then actually they don't even listen to you or they don't, there's no relationship. So I think that's why I came up with this financial freedom idea, and that's one of my new projects. I'm glad that I've been asking folks about their jobs because I want people to learn about different careers so that they can see maybe they can change their careers to something better so they can create that freedom. So people can look in the past and see all the different guests sharing their amazing jobs and see if they can learn from that. But I came up with something that will be even better, and I'll be sharing that down the road. And also for sure about you, I look forward for you to sharing with us about your work, and I think that's our next episode for that. So please stay tuned. Did you have any other last word about what we have spoken about, just about parenthood?
I'll leave it almost like as a cliffhanger.
Yes, please.
because we were talking about it.
Hmm.
I don't think, while spending a lot of time with your kids is obviously very important, time is also a construct, and that how we experience time can vary greatly. My parents both were gone by like 8 a.m. and came home at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. every weekday. They raised me. My
Right.
nannies didn't raise me, my teachers didn't raise me. They raised me because the time that they spent with me was with me.
Right.
And so, yes, I'm not giving people the out like you can't spend time with your kids. No, you should spend time with your kids.
Right.
However, whether it be for career or whatever needs to pull you away, or also that feeds you. I don't say just needs financially. Like I need my own time that
Right.
isn't being mom or professional. It's about the time that you do spend with them, how you're
Make it
spending
matter.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I think is very useful information. Thanks so much for sharing this. We look forward to chatting with you again, about the career part. And thank you for sharing about the importance of making that time that you have with them, make it matter, like make it count, So this is important. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much, Eva. We look forward to chatting with you again. How can folks find you, my friend?
They can find me on LinkedIn at
Hmm.
Eva Minkoff. I think I'm the
Hmm.
only Eva Minkoff.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
And also, if you care to look at my TED Talk, I have a TED Talk on
Amazing.
relationships in healthcare.
I'll be
And you
sharing
would,
that. Yes, definitely. We'll
yeah,
definitely make sure we share that link so folks can take a look. Yes, amazing. I look
you can
forward to
also
that.
just look up Eva Minkoff TED Talk. That also comes up.
Boom. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, that's the unique of, the beauty of having unique, names and unique backgrounds. You have to be, it's good to own it. Sometimes we don't want to be different. We want to merge. Merging is not good all the time, my friend. It's good to stay, the way you are. So thank you, my friend. We look forward to like chatting with you again. So folks, please tune in at like a Dad Puzzles, and if you're listening on the podcast, don't forget to like give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the future episodes, and give us a like. Evidently, that stuff helps to have other people listen to it. So thank you again for your support. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you.